Hey everybody, welcome to today's live stream. Hope you're all doing good today. So we're going to be casting some fabric scraps. And these were sent in by Leah, a huge bag of them. I can't wait to do this. I was looking forward to this ever since I opened the box up. So let's switch to the other camera view so you can see what we're working with here. Look at this gigantic bag of scraps. So she is on Instagram. She plays around with fabrics, obviously, and she had a bunch of these scraps, and I thought, oh, this is going to be really fun to play with. So we're going to dump it in some resin and see what we can make. What I was thinking was we could make some pen blanks, like a brick of them. And then I have another idea also. Thought maybe we could make something kind of like a lidded box or a sphere type size thing, and do a couple different ideas with this. So the way this is going to work, you could probably call this micarta. I would say I think from what I understand, micarta, like the definition of micarta is mixing like a material, typically like layered, and then adding resin in between. So it's almost like you're gluing up, almost like it's like plywood or something like that. But I think you can also consider whether it's like flat strips of stuff or not. I think you could consider this a micarta in one way. So I'm not going to go for like flat strips because it's not like I have big, like sheets of this stuff and they're all kind of like jumbled up. What we're going to do though, we're still going to compress it all down, and hopefully we'll have an interesting brick of colors and crazy patterns and things that should be pretty interesting, I think, once you turn it up. So hopefully this will work out the way that I have it in my mind. What I'm going to use for the resin today, this is also another thing that I was kind of excited about. When deep pour, so Alumilite's deep pour epoxy, when it came out, I realized, I looked at the specifications for it, and it has like a 2-hour working time. And when you're doing something like micarta, the longer the open time, the better, really. I've even, I've done like a paper micarta. Let's see here. Yeah. Show you what I have. Now this stuff is pretty thin. I wasn't using super thick. This is like kind of like your basic construction paper, not very thick. But I was trying to make pen blanks, and I mean, you're sitting there. There's like thousands of pieces of paper that you have to get, your glue or your resin on. And even with, something that had like a 45-minute working time, it really wasn't enough. I mean, it was starting to kind of set up. So overall, I'm not a huge fan of doing micarta. It takes so long and it's so tedious. So I don't really do it that much, but I thought this would be a pretty cool way to do it. And I'm not gonna, like I said, do like one sheet at a time kind of thing. We're just gonna kind of dump it all in there, get it saturated, real good with resin, and then kind of shove it into the mold, and then compress it down, and hopefully we'll get a really neat looking blank. But again, going back to the deep pour, I think having that 2-hour working time is really going to be, I think if I was going to do a normal micarta, I would totally go with deep pour. We got a super chat. Zack Attack time. Thanks, Mel. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I think that it's going to be a good one. Now, you might say the one issue with deep pour is it's kind of formulated to be poured in somewhat larger quantities. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. I still think that, you're going to have to let it, fully cure. You're going to have to give it probably a good week before I would say that it's, really fully cured up. But I think it should work fine. So it'll be kind of a little bit of an experiment. I've used like liquid diamonds in the past. I've used Amazing Clear Cast. They both work okay. One thing that I don't like about Amazing Clear Cast versus, something like liquid diamonds is it's so thick that it just isn't really awesome to work with. I don't really like the thick viscosity of that for this type of a project. And that's another reason why deep pour, it's pretty thin. I mean, it's like water thin almost. So it's gonna be good. Liquid diamonds is also super water thin, which I think in this case, with this fabric stuff, it's gonna like totally soak up a very thin resin very well. So it should be kind of fun, I think. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the fun as well, seeing if this thing works out the way that I hope in my head. So I'm going to switch over to the overhead view again real quick. And I'm going to kind of move this stuff out of the way and just kind of show you what has been going on. So on Sunday, I posted the ice cream scoop handle, and this was with that blank that Philip Danner sent in. And so make sure, if you guys haven't watched that video, or if you were someone that didn't watch all the way through to the end, we have one more blank and there's a giveaway going on. So make sure to head over to that video and watch to the end so you know how to enter. It's one of the comments things. But really happy with this blank. It turned out amazing, and it turned well. And I really love it as an ice cream scoop. I think it's just kind of like, it was, I don't know. I was all in on the ice cream scoop from the beginning. The blank is 1 inch by 1 inch by 5, and I was just kind of looking at it like, I really don't want to waste, like if I was going to make a pen out of this, it would just waste quite a bit of material. One person mentioned that there is one kit, the sketch pencil kit. I think it leaves the blank really fat. That might be a good way to go if you're going to go for a pen, but I think most of your tubed pen kits, you'd be turning away most of this material, which is kind of a shame. So handles are a pretty good way to keep a blank intact and not just drill it away and turn it away. Now, let me get a link real quick. Let's see here. I got a link. Probably link to it in the description too, but there we go. There's a link to that video. And then last Wednesday we did this pen. Turned this up, and I was very happy with the results on this. So, even though I was kind of saying when we were doing the shamrock blanks live, I was saying that when you're kind of putting not fully loading a blank up with this kind of glitter stuff, that sometimes it's not really the best for a kitted pen. Even still, I mean, you still obviously can get some pretty awesome results, even if you're doing a kitted pen, a tubed pen. But there are some things that you have to do. So if you didn't see that replay, make sure to watch that so you can kind of see all the tips, how I did that, how I got it all put together basically. But it turned out fabulous. I'm really excited about that one. So let's get these guys out of the way so we don't get resin and stuff. The one thing I will say is doing this kind of micarta thing, and when you're like compressing, your molds, it gets messy. All right, so be prepared for that. Maybe put down some extra stuff to deal with the mess. If you're working on like a table or something that you don't want resin all over, maybe put down like some cardboard, or these silicone mats are great. What I'm going to do once we do compress them, I'm actually going to put the whole mixture in something else, just in case the mold leaks or something happens or it way overflows, because that happens a lot of times too. I'm going to actually put it in there when I'm letting it fully cure. So we got a couple little things that we can kind of do that with. I highly recommend that, just to kind of keep your area from just being completely crazy. So let's see here. First off, let's see here. We got a lot of people here. Lots of viewers. Wow, 55 it says. So it looks like Brian and Dominic and Philip were here first. And then Gene, Mike, nice. Jim, welcome to the stream. And Richard's here, David Eisenhower. Let's see here, who else? Richard, I think I might have said Richard before. Dennis, nice. And Doug is here, how's it going? Keeping all the kids in line. Blitz Crafting, how's it going? Who else? I think Pack 90. So let's see here. Just Klondike's here. And TBC Bushings. Hey, Bruce Jordan, I saw your post. You were driving through the Sequoia National Forest. That looks like what I did yesterday. Yesterday I did my first backcountry snowboarding excursion. It wasn't super crazy or whatever, but I packed on some snowshoes, threw a backpack on, shoved my snowboard between the straps, and I hiked, like up a mountain, basically. It wasn't a huge mountain, but it was a pretty good hike. And then I got a really awesome powder run down to the bottom, and it was kind of fun. It took me like hours to go up, and then it was like, I don't know how long it took to go down, but it felt like 5 minutes. It was just over, and I was like, oh, I want to do it again. But so that reminded me of that picture. So let's see here. So one thing I also want to mention is, so for micarta, you saw that rainbow, so that blank is micarta. And Philip Danner made this for me. And so Philip, let's see, I think Philip's, I want to make sure he's still here, but I'm pretty sure that Philip can make you one of these also if you don't win this blank. So I wanted to double check because I kind of was saying that in the video. But so this is micarta. He made this and he used kind of similar to what I pulled out. It was like construction paper. It was like, I think a little bit heavier, but that's how he did it. And if you want to see how he did this, because it's going to be different than what I'm doing. I'm kind of, the way that I'm going to do this is not how you would do where if you had like big pieces of material, which, you know, micarta could be card, construction paper. It could be like paper. It could be, I've seen, I'm trying to think. So I've done denim, like jeans, basically. So like any material like that. I've also seen, what's the other one? Burlap. So like anything realistic. I did fire hose also. But that's a little bit of a different process. And he has a pretty good post on Instagram showing how he made these blanks. So if you want to see that, make sure to follow him on Instagram. And I think that video was under his personal. He's got Danner Builds, so at Danner Builds, and he's also got at philip.danner. So make sure to go and follow him on Instagram and check out that post. If you scroll down, it wasn't that long ago. I want to say it was like a few months ago. But you can kind of check it out and you'll see that post, and it shows a really good way of doing like kind of your traditional how people do micarta. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. You're making another big block. Nice. Sweet. Yeah, beautiful country. Yeah, Redwood National or Sequoia National Forest is really beautiful. You're right over the mountain from me. Right below us. Sweet. So let's see here. All right. So first things first. Let's see here. So I just want to talk a little bit about the differences of what we're going to be doing. So the first one is going to be kind of how I typically do micarta, and this would be kind of how I would even do like that rainbow blank. You would just cut strips, flat strips of your material, and then you would kind of have a little pan of resin just sitting there, and you would kind of dunk it under there. Take a piece of material one at a time, dunk it into the resin, get it nice and saturated, stick it in here, and then kind of like spread it off with like a spreader, and then do it again. So you just keep on doing that, get it wet, and you're kind of just gluing a bunch of stuff together is almost really how to think about this. You're not putting a ton of resin. It's all very thin layers of resin, and then you just keep building up that stack. What we're going to do, I'm just going to kind of get stuff saturated. So I'm going to have a kind of a big bucket of resin. I'm going to kind of shove it in the way that I do things where it's like coffee beans or the glitter. Try and get that stuff kind of saturated in the resin. And then I haven't really thought this totally through, but I'm not going to go for like a super thin amount of resin. I'm just going to kind of put it in there, try and saturate the stuff, and then pull it out and then shove it into the mold. And then what I'm going to do is clamp down a lid, which this is what you would do with normal micarta anyway, but I have another piece of stuff. And so once we've gotten the material in here, I'm going to put this on there, and then we're literally going to use clamps and just kind of compress that entire mixture down. And this is where things get kind of messy, because not only are you kind of like, dunking stuff over here in a big vat of resin and then putting it here, so you're dripping stuff all over the place, just getting your mold loaded. But the other thing is then you clamp it, and if you have excess, which I'm going to have quite a bit of excess because we're not doing kind of thin layers, it like squeezes out all over the place. So that's why I have big, tubs, to where if it totally overflows, which could totally easily happen, it'll just kind of go into my little bucket here. So not a big deal, I don't think, but that's going to be the way to do it. Now, I've traditionally only done this in square molds, really. So I'm kind of curious to see how a round one works. I've never seen one made this way, I guess, but it's going to be the same exact thing. We're just going to stick a bunch of material in there, load it up, and try and then compress it down. So for this one, what I'm going to use to compress it, number one, what we're going to do is just kind of laying out the roadmap of how this is all going to work, and I'll explain it while we go, but this is going to be one of those where I'm going to actually glue this onto a hard surface, so a piece of HDPE. We're going to hot glue that down. And then what I'm going to do is use just a block of wood, which the nice thing about this is now I'm going to be basically shoving this down to compress everything. and it's probably going to glue it. I would imagine it's going to glue this block. It'll be a glue block. It'll be ready to be just used as a glue block out of the gate. So it should be kind of an interesting way to do this. I don't know if it's going to work particularly well or not, but it should, I think. I don't know. So anyway, that's how we're going to do it. One thing that I want to do is, I don't think we're going to get like a massive reaction with the deep pour, and I don't even know if I really care too much. It's not going to do that much, but I do think what I was let me start over. I'm not sure if we're going to get like a moisture reaction or anything like that, because I didn't dry this out or do anything. It's not stabilized. It's just basically a piece of 2x4 or 2x6 that I cut into a circle. So what I want to do though, I'm not that worried about moisture or anything like that with this, but this will be a good opportunity to use the new amazing sealer from Alumilite. I haven't actually tried it out yet. So what this is it'll give you kind of, it covers it up. We could use like a resin or something like that, but deep pour is not going to be a good idea for this because it would take hours for it to like set up. So we're going to use this. It should be pretty quick. I don't know how fast, but we just brush on a layer of it, maybe two, and that'll seal off the wood and moisture in the wood from the resin when we use it as like a compression thing. Whew, I've been talking a lot. So, Gretchen's here. Where? Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Oh, I got to be good now. Jeez, my wife's here. How's it going? Aren't you supposed to be working? Jeez. All right, so let's see here. I'll give you a free pass today. Let me get a drink first, though. Who just showed up? Frank Fowler's here. Oh, and one other little test that I wanted to do. So we're going to be using kind of a big pipe. I figured this would be kind of, I don't know, this seemed easier in my head to kind of compress a lot of fabric in. One thing that I want to try is to kind of go with the same idea with just a pen blank tube, 3/4 inch PVC. And in this case, I have just this little pen blank cutoff thing. We'll use that to kind of compress it. This pen blank is pretty tight in here, but it should work. And what I was thinking is we can just use one of these silicone plugs on the bottom. I don't know that I want to go that route on the big one because if it leaks, it's going to be a big failure. But for one pen blank, I thought let's just try this, and we can use the clamp between these things and kind of compress it down with just a pen blank. So we'll do that at the same time. The beauty is we have 2 hours of working time, so I don't have to rush or worry about anything. It should be kind of fun. Yak's here. Where's Yak? Nice. Welcome. All right, so enough talk. I'll shut up. Now, I'm not going to heat up the molds or do anything like that. I don't know that it would really do any good necessarily. It's a 2-hour working time resin, and it's going to sit in this thing for hours before it really, like cures. So I don't really know that heating it up to 135 degrees Fahrenheit and then letting it cool off in like 20 minutes, I don't see any advantage to doing that, so we're just not going to do it. We'll see. I don't think it's, and plus you're using such thin amount of resin that I don't think it's going to make any difference. So let's see, I'm going to move this. First thing I want to do is let's get this sealer going. We're going to do the pen blanks first while the sealer is kind of curing up on this wood. The way that I understand this is you're going to apply it. When you apply this, it's white. It says it on the thing. Applies white, dries clear. And basically once it's clear, like it's good to go. You can put either another layer on, another coat, or you can cast it. That's from what I understand. That's how that stuff works. All right. So another thing we need to do is get the hot glue going. Get that warming up. I'm going to hot glue our mold to a piece of HDPE. All right. So we got our hot glue gun rolling. Let's open this. I've never even opened this stuff up yet. Very excited about this. I think this would be a good use for like dragon egg type things. You can kind of seal off whatever you've put on there. Lots of different stuff. If you were doing like stamp blanks, or one project that's going to be coming up that I'm going to be doing, somebody's sending me some Pokemon cards. And I have a feeling like anytime you're casting something that's like cardboard or paper, the resin will soak it up. And if you don't want the resin soaking into the material, then you would need to somehow seal it. And so this stuff would be absolutely fabulous for that. Some people, I don't know exactly how they're made, totally how to do it exactly, but there's also like the playing card pen blanks, which are like tube in. You know, you're basically gluing a card. That's the way stamp blanks work too. But that you need to cover stuff like that. It just, a lot of times the resin will kind of, what it does is it's going to discolor stuff and just not be very awesome. When I was doing the Star Wars, that X-Wing thing, the X-Wing sphere, it came with a little cardboard. It looks like some sort of a fiber cardboard something, and it said what the little vehicle was. It said like X-Wing and like the number on it. So this was in there, and it actually soaked up the resin, and I really should have sealed that. That is unfortunate because every other part of that entire project was like flawless. And then that one thing, it kind of swelled and it discolored it slightly. So I was a little bit not super thrilled about that, but what are you going to do, right? Learned my lesson. Now we got this amazing sealer, and it's amazing, guys. You know it is. Okay, so I'm just going to use one of these. I don't really recommend using the acid brushes because the bristles come out, but whatever. It's one of the bigger brushes that I have. I'm just going to paint it on. If you don't have this amazing clear sealer stuff, there's also a brand called Mod Podge. And there's also, I mean, honestly, I think you can actually just use like Elmer's glue. That might work. But I think this stuff, this amazing sealer, I think they actually formulated this to be for, you know, obviously Alumilite probably kind of formulated it for resin use. So it might work a little better. I have no clue, you know, how it would compare to some of the other sealers out there. But the one thing that you can be guaranteed is this stuff is compatible with resins, you know, so a little bit of peace of mind sometimes goes a long way with, you know, things that you're casting, because if it has some sort of weird reaction with the resin, I mean, you know, depending on what you're casting, it could be seriously tragic and cost a lot of money and blow the whole project. So even with like mica powders and stuff, I usually recommend to people, you know, people talk about, oh, you can use like cosmetic micas and all these different things, and in most cases they work just fine. They're the same exact thing, but there are some products that actually do not work with resins. So I usually recommend just, you know, use the ones that were like marketed for use with resin, intended for that use. It's just, then you don't have to do a bunch of testing, you don't have to worry. So with this sealer stuff, and it smells pretty good. Kind of smells like glue, so I don't know, it may just be white glue, I don't know, but should work pretty good, I think. Hopefully. In this case, I don't even know if this was really fully necessary, because I don't think that it would really affect anything, but may as well try it out since I got it. I think what I'm going to do is probably, depending on how long this takes to become clear, well, I'm going to put probably 2 coats on, because no matter what, it's going to take time. By the time we actually get to the casting for this thing, you know, time is going to have passed, lots of time. So we're going to put 2 coats on just to kind of, that's what they kind of recommend, I think, on this stuff for sealing off woods that you're going to cast. So why not? Let's do it. We got time. Plenty of time. I don't think I am necessarily going to end up taking 2 hours to do all this stuff, but it is nice having that 2-hour working time with the deep pour. And just to let you guys know, I was saying that, you know, deep pour was kind of intended to be poured in larger amounts. It doesn't heat up as much, you know, compared to some of the other epoxies out there. But I will say that I have used deep pour to make dice, which are super tiny, and they worked fine. I did kind of test out some molds that I had, and it worked fine. So it did take a little while. You had to let it, you know, it took probably about 5 to 7 days to really fully harden up. But I mean, it worked fine. It hardened up extremely well. I'm trying to find something to put this on. That'll work. All right, so actually I'm going to set this aside. We're going to do the pen blanks now. And I'm going to close this up. I don't want to contaminate this with anything. If you guys hear any crunching or vibrating or weird noises, they're like doing massive site work right next door, like literally on the other side of our wall. So there's like heavy loaders and equipment moving stuff and dropping huge things, and so that's what's going on. It's not nothing else. Harry's here. How's it going? And Twyla's here too. Nice. I'm not sure if Leah, so Leah sent this stuff in. I'm not sure if Leah was able to make it today to the thing live. She's on Instagram as Colorful Art Girl, so give her a follow if you want to check out and see what she's up to. I think the hot glue gun is ready, so I think we're gonna get this going. One thing that I'm going to do before we hot glue this, though, I'm going to spray the heck out of this thing. I'm not sure how much Amazing Deep Pour, how it sticks to PVC or anything like that. So I'm going to give this a really good spraying, and I'm actually going to use the universal mold release. This is a different mold release that Alumilite sells. It's a little bit less greasy, which personally, I don't really find the purple stoner to be that greasy. When you compare it to the yellow, this stuff I hate. I cannot stand this. It is literally like spraying like butter in your mold. I hate it. But this stuff's even less greasy. But I think that you need to spray quite a bit of it. But the nice thing is it'll work for every resin, and it also works for silicone as well. So I just thought I'd pick up a can. Personally, I really like. I know exactly what to expect with the purple stoner with the Alumilite clear. It's formulated for urethane, so I'm going to use this typically when I'm using Alumilite clear. But I just thought it'd be kind of nice to try this out. Why not? Hey, thanks for stopping in, Bruce. Have a good one. So it has a ball in it, you can hear. So I'm shaking it up. I don't know how important all this is, but I'm going to go off the camera here for a second and give this a good spraying. I think we're going to do a couple sprays here. Worst case scenario, if it sticks, then you can always turn off PVC pipe. It's not particularly fun. It doesn't turn amazingly well. So if you can avoid it, if you can use a good mold release, that's a much better way to go. But, it's not the end of the world if you get a blank stuck. You can eventually get it off of there. I gave that a pretty good dousing. Let's just do that and just see how it works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little acetone to wipe off the bottom of that pipe. We want our hot glue to stick to this. I'm just going to kind of wipe some of that off if it got on there. And so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. We're not actually, I'm gonna do this double view. You can kind of see what I'm doing down there. So I'm gonna actually get another glue stick out because I know that I'm gonna use more than one. It's kind of centered. So I'm going to put a bead around this thing first. I'm going to lift it up and try and get some like underneath the pipe. And then I'm going to come back and douse the heck out of this. This is not a time where you want to be cheap and try to save money on glue, because if this thing leaks, you're going to waste a lot of money in resin and time. So you want to give it a good amount, make sure it's fully sealed, and you won't have any problems. Okay, so we got a bead around it. I'm going to lift this up, set it back down, and then, like I said, I'm going to come back. We're going to douse the heck out of this. We're going to put tons and tons of glue on this. Another thing about why it's good to really make sure that you've gotten this sealed up well is if you pick it up, you want the thing to stick. And I don't really recommend picking this all up by the pipe once you've gotten your resin and everything in there, because I know by experience that doesn't always work out too well. Okay, that should be good, I think. We got lots of glue on there. Just going to set that aside, let that kind of cure and do whatever it's doing. Okay, so let's see here. I'm just going to show you guys the current state of this. Probably could have even put on like a thinner coat, but it's already starting to kind of clear up in some areas. Only been a few minutes. All right, so this is the mold that we're going to be using right now, and I have this. This is what I'm going to use to compress everything once we get it all in there. So first thing I need to do is get a big bucket. I want to have lots of room so I can jam a bunch of the fabric in. I think this ought to work. I have no clue how much resin I'm going to need, so I'm just going to mix up more than I need, basically, because I want to douse. I want to, douse all these little pieces. So I'm basically going to mix some up, and then I'm trying to think. I mean, I definitely don't want to do this like one piece at a time. I want to just shove in a bunch of it, stir it around, let it kind of sit in there and soak up some resin. And then I'm just going to kind of take it out and just shove it into our mold. So I don't know. We'll see how much it's going to take. Probably overshoot it and waste a little bit, but that's okay. So deep pour. This is their kind of river table formula. It's a 2-to-1 by volume. Okay, so make sure to always read the directions for whatever resin you're using. This is not Alumilite Clear Slow. This one, Alumilite Clear Slow, is by weight, 1-to-1. All right, so, and then Amazing Clear Cast is 1-to-1 by volume. So all these resins have different things. You got to make sure you know exactly what measurement you need to be making with these things. Otherwise, it'll throw off the mix ratio and you'll have problems with curing. Okay, so let's see here. I think these, oh, it's not a new jug. I think what I'm going to do is mix up I think I'm just going to go 24 ounces. Let's see. Yeah, that should be. I'm going to mix up 24 ounces at a time, so that way I can just split it into 3 8-ounce. So, but our part, let's see, is it part A or B? Hold on a sec. I got to look at something here. Which one do I have 2 jugs of? We got 2 part A's, so 2 parts part A to 1 part part B. All right, so we're going to just do the B first. I don't think it really makes any difference. That's pretty good. This is the part B. So 1 part of that to 2 parts of part A. One's not open, so maybe the other one is. There it is. So I put 8 ounces. Part B, we're going to put 24 ounces, or up to 24 ounce, up to the 24 ounce line of part A. So that's 16 ounces of part A. Okay. Be good, I think. You always want to get down to the level of the line and make sure that it's what you thought. When you're looking at a diagonal, sometimes you can kind of throw off that measurement visually. Okay, let's see. Get this stick out. So you guys can see on the overhead, I mean, this stuff is pretty thin. You know, the part A is a little bit thicker than the part B, but once you've gotten it mixed up, it's I want to say it's about as thin as Alumilite Clear Slow, if not maybe even a little bit thinner than that. So nice and thin. I'm not going to be using pressure with these, I don't think. You got to clamp it and do a bunch of stuff. It just doesn't make it particularly easy to get into a pressure pot for, you know, in most cases. I'm not going to do it. Main thing is you want to mix it well. Make sure it's fully mixed up. Let's see here. What's going on in the chat? Anything? Can't really see a whole lot there. You're scraping the sides and the bottom real well. Get all the part A and the part B off of there. You don't want to have little blobs of uncured resin. That will not help anything out. Just looking in there, you want to make sure, if you don't want to see any like haziness. It should be nice and clear. That means that everything's kind of mixed up. But it's always good to just kind of give it a few more, even once it's cleared up. Not a bad idea, especially we got 2 hours of working time here. Okay, so there's really no reason to be like, oh, I'm in a rush. I need to, need to hurry up. Give it a few minutes. I don't know what they recommend. Probably like 3 or 4 minutes of mixing. I don't know. I guess actually it doesn't say 2 hours on the jug. Huh. I guess it only says 60 to 90 minutes, but I think in this case we'll probably have a good amount of time. I don't know where I got that 2 hour thing. Definitely more than Liquid Diamonds or Amazing Clear Cast. Amazing Clear Cast I think is maybe about 45 minutes. But again, you kind of have to have a pot of resin sitting there, like, so, and a decent amount of it. So, you can't really say that it's just a thin amount. You only have, 30 to 45 minutes with that. So hopefully we'll have a good at least hour and a half with the deep pour here. All right, I think that's probably good. So, like I said, I'm just going to go for kind of dumping these things in here. I'm going to try to kind of do a little bit at a time. We got plenty of time, right? So I just want to kind of get these things saturated. I want them to soak up resin, right? I'm going to just kind of dump a bunch in there and then just pull it out. It's going to be a mess, but it'd be kind of fun, I think. I don't know. And the resulting blanks, especially with this material, are you kidding? Like, look at all the different colors we got here. When you compress all this down and then turn it, I think that these are going to be some pretty cool blanks. I don't know. We'll have to see. In my head, though, I'm thinking these are going to be pretty cool. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to drop in fabrics all over the ground. Ooh, look at this one. Look at that one. That one's going to be fun. Toss these guys in. Okay, let's see here. So this is going to be my compression top. Now again, we're going to be compressing this, like heavily compressing this with a clamp. So it may look like there's, you know, a decent amount in here, but there really isn't once we compress all this stuff. And there may be other ways to do this. Like I said, I am definitely no expert when it comes to micarta type things and all that. Typically, I don't even like doing it, but I've done it a few times. And this is not the traditional way that you would normally do, you know, micarta. Usually it's bigger sheets and you do it kind of one at a time, get it coated with stuff, and then stick it in your vessel, your mold. But since these are so odd, like I'm not going to do these one at a time. That would be terrible. And another thing, so you can probably see in the bottom of this mold, there's just a bunch of clear resin. I'm actually going to be kind of, one thing I think I'm going to do that I just thought of, I actually want to prop this mold up a bit and let it kind of flow, because I'm actually just going to dump that back into my cup. We don't need a bunch of excess resin in there as well. And as I go, I can kind of compress this a little bit just with the stick and just kind of get this stuff to hopefully squeeze out, because we don't need a ton of resin. That's not the point. We need this stuff to be fully coated, and you want the fabric to be saturated real well. You can get just messy with it and just squeeze it out, I suppose, but you know what I mean? Like this. This probably isn't a bad way to go, is just squeeze it out. Very messy though. And then we got to pick up more. The problem is now my glove is totally resiny. This probably wouldn't be a bad thing to do with a couple people. Have one person kind of grabbing more and then one person kind of squeezing it out. Team up, you know. I don't have anyone to team up with, but it's kind of fun. Like I said, definitely a messy thing. I'm just going to pour that out. All right, we're looking good. So this glove I can keep somewhat dry, maybe. Dump a little bit more in there. Are we having fun yet? Chris, what's up? You made it. Yeah, I got this big bag of fabric stuff from Leah. She's on Instagram. Colorful Art Girl. Sent in this huge bag of crazy scraps. I think she does like some kind of quilting and different stuff like that. And she had this huge bag of scraps and sent it out. I was like, yes, let's do it. It's so squishy. This is working a little bit better. I don't think we're going to have as much excess in the mold. We're still going to have some excess, but not nearly as much. Squeeze it out by hand. I think that's the way to go. Just get messy with it, guys. Just create a mess. You'll be good to go. I don't think the color's leaching out into the resin cup. One thing that I'm just taking this straight out of the bag the way she gave it to me, so I don't know if any of this stuff was like washed or if there was, like fabric softener or, anything like that in it that could maybe cause an issue. I have no clue. I'm just taking this stuff straight out of the bag she sent. I don't anticipate any issues with any of that stuff, but I mean, it could happen. There could be something in it maybe that could maybe cause an issue. I don't know. Kind of doubt it, but just wanted to voice that thought. I think we're getting pretty close. All I need out of this is going to be pen blanks, right? So all I need to have is, and I think what I'm going to do is probably pour some more resin in just to make sure we definitely have enough resin. Just add a little bit more, and if we, it's going to squeeze out basically. That's inevitable, no matter how much we put in there. But I'd rather kind of not starve it. Like if you're a woodworker, you don't want a glue-starved joint, right? So we want to definitely try to avoid any areas where there's no glue, somewhere. But yeah, I think we're about there. I don't know. Maybe I'll add just a little bit more. We need to have some room in here, to get our lid to kind of fit in there, but still got more room in our cup here, so more resin in it, I should say. Should be enough. I don't know. Like I said, I don't exactly know. Oh, a lot of quilters wash it but not use fabric softener. That's interesting. Makes sense. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm kind of making a mess here. Just like I said, what I'm trying to do here is let the resin soak up as much in the cup, kind of squeeze some out, and then toss it into our mold. And I don't know if this is the right way to do this or whatever. I'm just kind of going off of what seems smart, to me. What seems like a smart idea. It is really squishy. It's like, I don't know what this is like. What is it like? Kind of fun though. Make sure you definitely want to be wearing gloves with this. You might want to throw some eye protection on and, take all the necessary precautions with this because it's going to get messy. And when you're squeezing this, you know, I probably should have put some glasses on. I don't usually do that, but it is really definitely a good, not a bad idea to do. Because if you get resin in your eye, ooh, you're not going to be feeling good. You're pretty much, you're going to have to go to the optometrist. If you think about it, the resin's going to cure, right? So you don't want that. I actually splashed some, so Alumilite white. That resin is super thin. I mean, it is literally water thin. And the part B is definitely, I mean, it is as thin as water in a glass. And I actually got some of the Alumilite part B. It's just kind of, just a little drip splashed out of a cup into my eye. And like my eyes were just killing me for like that one eyeball for like a week. I don't think there was any damage necessarily, but so I definitely wouldn't want cured resin in my eye. That would be terrible. All right, so I think that that's pretty good. I'm gonna take these gloves off because I want to grab my clamp and I want to get kind of set up for the way that I'm gonna do everything here. So let's see, that one's not that. So what I'm gonna be doing here, let's get all this stuff out of the way. I thought it'd be kind of a smart idea to have like a pan, because honestly, I'm going to pour more resin in this thing, then we're going to compress this. It is just going to overflow, okay? So this is where it gets extremely messy. So I thought, I got this little oil pan thing that didn't fit into any pressure pot that I own. It is made for resin casting, basically. And so we're going to do that, and I have a clamp, and I'm going to try to get away with, let's see here. Oh, I got resin on my hands, which I get for taking off my gloves. I would have got it all over my clamp and everything else, so. Okay. Interesting. You get resin on your skin, the best thing to do is actually just go wash it off in the sink with soap and water. I don't have a sink handy, so using a little bit of denatured alcohol. That's not a good way to go though, because it actually kind of thins it out and it probably gets into your skin. But in this case, what I don't want is sticky hands in my gloves. So don't do as I do, do as I say. Okay, so the way that I wanted to do this, let's see here. We have a bunch of clamps. So there's different ways to do this. When we do the pipe, I'm going to try to get away with just one clamp. And I think it should be fine, because all we're going to be clamping is this one, disc, a 4-inch disc. So really putting a bunch of clamps on there, I don't see the point. So we're just going to use one clamp for that. But for this one, it's a little bit bigger, and I don't think that you could really get away with just using one clamp on this. Where's my lid? We're going to use this. This fits right into my mold, and I don't really think that it'll probably end up kind of cockeyed. So we're going to use 4 clamps. We're going to hit all 4 corners. You could even put one on the middle, I suppose. But that's how most people do micarta. So I'm just going to use these little quick clamps for this. All right, I got 4 of them. Should be pretty simple, I think. We'll see. And I'm probably going to get resin on my clamps. I've never had it be a problem. All this stuff, the little pads on these things I'm pretty sure are just HDPE or something that is non-stick pretty much. If you're really really worried about that, you could spray mold release all over your clamps and take, maybe wipe wax or something on there. There are different things that you could do, but I think that we should be fine with mine. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour a little bit more resin in, and I know that I'm going to be probably wasting this because it's going to squeeze out. There's probably plenty of resin, just in the fabric itself, but I'd rather err on the side of caution with this and not starve, glue starve the joint. Plus, it's not like this fabric is necessarily going to fill the entire mold. We aren't we aren't stacking a bunch of layers that I know are like 3/4 inch thick or something like that. I don't know how much this is going to take up, but I do want to clamp this stuff down and try and get these kind of crazy, weird wiggle patterns with the colors all crazy. So this is a case where it's not your typical micarta, you know. The rainbow micarta blank, I mean, the paper itself probably, you know, was an inch thick on this stuff, or a little bit thicker. So it's slightly different than like a traditional micarta type blank. All right, I just want to make sure that you guys know that this is not the typical way of doing this, I guess. All right, so I got an HDPE kind of lid thing. You know, I don't know where to stop with this resin. Actually, I can see it pooling down there a little bit. Let's add just a little bit more. I mean, that's why I got an oil pan, right? I'd rather have too much resin than not enough. Let's just kind of add a little bit more. The fabric may even kind of soak a little bit more up. Who knows? I think that's plenty at this point. All right, so now, yeah, I think there's plenty. It's going to leak all over the place, I think, guys. So this is the fun part. All right, so let's see here. One thing that I saw Philip do that I was thinking about doing, he used bench cookies. So if you're not familiar with what those are, they are a really fabulous little doohickey that Rockler sells. And I've used these things forever. I used to use them for sanding and for finishing. And I have lots of them, and I was thinking about setting this up, but I don't have dog holes, and I needed a really high thing. But they're these little things that have little rubber, or, you know, like this, I guess, rubber pads. And it's just meant so that you can kind of get a little bit of room, you know, lift up a piece. If you're sanding, they're usually pretty, like, sticky, so you can kind of just sand a board or something like that on them. And Philip was using this, and his clamps fit perfectly underneath them. If I was going to be doing a lot more of this micarta stuff, I may even drill holes into my desk here, and that way they have these little posts. Let me go grab the post so you can see what I'm talking about here. So this is the bench cookie, right? And then they also sell these little post things, and they can go either, there's two different like heights. I would have probably done it this way. And then I would probably drill dog holes straight into my bench so that these little doohickeys would fit in there. And then that way I would do all of this stuff with the mold sitting on top of my bench cookies. And then I could just basically come in with my clamp and it would fit underneath there. That's a smarter way to do it. So kudos to Philip for doing that. I just didn't really want to mess around. I don't have holes or anything in my bench, like ready to go. So instead, we're going to do this the messier, harder way. See here again, not a bad idea to have a couple people to help out, but not that big of a deal. That's another reason to use quick clamps, make things a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to get one squish. I really should have thought this out. Not a bad idea to bring your clamps over. Okay, so I gotta get all my clamps over here. I can't do this all one-handed and have my clamps 10 feet away from me. Okay. Are we having fun yet, guys? Trying to keep the epoxy off of this hand so I don't get it all over my clamps. Okay, so once you get two, you're good to go. Then it'll kind of stand up. It's already leaking out. Okay, so I'm going to put this in here because it is going to become a giant mess. There we go, we got it. All right. So the nice thing about this is I can kind of gauge how level it is, because as long as this piece is fairly level, you know, compared to the blank or the mold, then everything should be pretty well leveled, right? All right, I'm getting resin all over my clamps, just to let everyone know. There's resin everywhere. This is another reason why I don't really do micarta too much. I'm not a big fan of gigantic messes and epoxy all over my clamps. That's okay though. This is what I do for you guys. Okay, so let me grab another one. All right, now it's standing up okay. I'm probably going to glue my clamps to the oil pan, but that's okay. All right, so we got everything in there. I'm going to take these gloves off. I'm going to wipe off my clamps, and then at this point, you just go around the horn, you know, increasing the pressure on each clamp little by little, and hopefully making the, you know, hopefully cinching it down evenly. Use my drill press? No thanks. I would rather use cheap clamps. If you really were going to make a lot of this micarta stuff, then I would create a screw press specifically for this. That's probably the smart way to go. And I'm going to do 2 at a time now, across ways, to kind of bring this down fairly even, hopefully. I'm just kind of, like I said, I'm watching what's going on. This corner's a little bit low. Let's bring this one down a little bit more. Screw clamps will give you more pressure. I'm not that worried about it myself for this. I don't have a problem having some clear resin in the middle of all this stuff. I think that we're going to have so much. I think it's going to be compressed quite well, but you know, there's having a tighter, having a clamp that can get tighter will give you a slightly better, you know, end result for the most part. Tighter compaction, you know. All right, so I'm just looking at the corners here. This one needs to come down a little bit more. And even if it's not absolutely perfect, it's not that big of a deal because we're going to cut this up. You know, it's not like I need this to come out of the mold perfect or anything like that. I don't know. I mean, really, it doesn't even matter that much. If it's perfect or not, I think it's going to be cool either way. I could probably keep going a little bit more, but let me just give these like 2 good squeezes here each. And I think that I'm going to call it a day on this. I think I'm good. I don't think it's going to get too much more compacted. I am going to try to dump out some of this. Yeah. Quite a mess. What do you guys think? No, I didn't spray the clamps. Like I said, the pads themselves are non-stick pretty much. I've used these before for this type of thing. You know, the rest of this stuff, whatever. I mean, if I have to buy new clamps, fine. But I think they'll all pop off. No problem. Yeah, not too bad. I mean, we didn't waste that much resin. There's a little bit left in the bucket, but so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this over to a different spot. Let's see here. So I got resin all over the bottom of this. So I'm going to put cardboard down on another desk and just get it out of my way. While we do, let's see here. Do I have any more? Ooh. Okay. I actually have one of those Harbor Freight floor mat things. That's what I'm going to use. Stick that on there because I don't want to get resin all over my fabulous assembly table. Okay, so we got one down. Whew. I'm going to switch to this view. I'm going to take a little bit of a break and get a drink here. So the next thing I want to do is show you guys, this thing's totally clear at this point. So we're going to put another coating on that with the quick cure. I think that's about it. So I'm just going to do the same exact thing, I think. I'm just trying to think. Another way that you can maybe do this is just dump resin into the actual mold itself and not have to like pick them out. So why don't we try that this time? Yeah. That might be a little bit easier. The reason that I did it the other way where I had this bucket and I wanted it to kind of try and soak as much up first and then put it into the mold. But I mean, realistically, you could probably just, and part of the reason I did that, what I was going to say is typically when I've seen other people do micarta, you take like your sheet of paper, kind of stick it into a tray with resin and then you kind of, dunk it basically, wipe it off a little bit and then stick it in your mold. And then like kind of spread it down to kind of like glue it and press it down. And then you keep doing this, right? So that's why in my head you have two different buckets of stuff. And like I said, I don't know what I'm doing with this. I've never done it before. I've done a couple times with micarta type things like this, but so let's try it in the pipe this time where we just dump resin into the pipe a little bit and then kind of let it soak up a little bit, add a little bit more resin, dump some fabric in. And see if that works. I mean, in theory, in my head, it should work fine. I don't know. Brian's getting some work done. Oh, no. Don't get some work done. Was somebody... I'm not sure what... I don't know what Doug was saying. Yeah, I can't keep an eye on the chat when I'm doing stuff. So let's try that out. We got our pipe here. I need to get a drink. I'm gonna put my bench cookie away. Let's see if we can get some pretty good results by just putting resin into the mold itself and then just kind of shoving the stuff in like I normally do on Dunkin' Junk. All right. And then we also have the pen blank one, which I'm not as inclined to do it that way. I want to kind of dunk the pieces, shove some down into the pipe. So it's going to be a little bit of a messier one, but it should be kind of fun, I think. So first things first, let's get some more sealer. And it's not even sticky or anything. So once it's clear, you're good to go. And the way this stuff works also, once it's clear, you can cast on top of it. You can pour epoxy or whatever kind of resin. I'm not 100% certain. I'm just trying to think. I think I watched one of their videos and they said that, or maybe it was in the directions or something, and they specifically said epoxy, but I'm almost 100% certain that Alumilite Clear Slow, so like a urethane base resin or any type of resin, I think will work fine once it's cured. I don't think it makes any difference which resin you use. But we are using epoxy. I know it works fine. So let's get our paintbrush out. Our paintbrush, stir the fabric. Yeah, so I'm not just saying like shove the fabric in and then pour resin on. What I'm going to do is dump resin into the pipe. I'm going to push some fabric in and mix it around, let it kind of absorb it. That's a very good point. Let it absorb it a little bit and then kind of try to push it down a little bit, add a little bit more resin, and then just keep kind of going. It's going to waste a ton of resin once we compress it, because you kind of have to have more resin than it needs, actually, because it's not like you can paint on a little thin layer on each one of these little pieces of fabric. We're going to kind of waste some resin, but it'll work fine. So I think it'll work okay though. I think the pipe might actually be a little bit easier. One thing I also wanted to mention is another way that you could go, and the reason I didn't do this though is because the sides are not like totally parallel. So, you know, I have this mold and it's just a piece of PVC. That's totally, you know, it's like flat walled, right? And they're 90 degrees to the edge. You could also just use a paint mixing cup and just shove something down in there. The problem with that, though, is it is kind of, you know, angled. The walls are not like vertical, perfectly straight up and down. So I kind of chose, I think it would make things somewhat easier maybe. You could just dump some stuff in there and then just, you know, try to compress it into that and make it a mold. They work fine. But in this case, I kind of wanted to have the cylinder, the pipe shape. So let's switch to this view. We'll open our amazing sealer. It's amazing, guys. Look at how amazing this is. Got resin all over the place. I'm going to put this right. Yep. I knew it. There's resin all over that too. I'm just going to put some gloves on. I'm pretty excited. I think these are going to turn out pretty cool. Okay. We'll do another coat of this, and like I said, this will definitely be ready to rock and roll by the time we're ready. You know, by the time the micarta is done, I think this thing should be fine. But again, we got like 2 hours or so, an hour and a half to 2 hours of working time, so I don't think it's going to be any issue. This stuff, this amazing sealer stuff, should be well cured up by then. And all you got to do, again, it's not like you got to wait like 24 hours or do any of that stuff. You wait till it's clear and you can cast on it. Good to go. I'm just doing a double coat just to make sure that we've sealed off. I don't know. Like I said, in this case, I don't think this matters. This is basically just going to be a glue block, and we're going to turn most of this off. And I don't think that moisture issues, if there were a few bubbles or something that came off this, I don't think it even would matter. We're compressing the material under it on top of the, you know, everything. But why not? I thought this wouldn't be a bad, you know, opportunity to try this stuff out at least and just kind of go for it, see what it's like. So far, I like it. I think if you need to seal something up, this stuff is pretty simple. Obviously, wipe it on, wait till it's clear, and then cast. The brush, the bristles on this brush are a little bit kind of crusty because I just let it kind of cure on there. Taking a little bit longer than first time, I think. But we'll get there eventually. All right, so I'm just going to set that aside again. And again, once that's clear, I hope I missed a spot. Like, I miss any spots. Do it right. Once it's clear, it'll be ready to rock. Should be ready when by the time we're done. Squishing about. Yeah, I'm sure this is extremely similar, if not pretty much the same thing as like a Mod Podge. What I don't know, it's not like I have some sort of inside information about anything that I can say, oh yeah, it's totally different. It may be exactly the same, but the one thing about it is I know that Alumilite may have, engineered this product a little bit more to be used specifically for resins. I don't know if that's true or not, but again, I kind of said this earlier, given the opportunity to go for a product that is just more general or not even necessarily made for what your application is, and then having another product that is exactly for that, I'm typically going to go for the one that's made for it, because it's going to work the way you would think it should work, kind of thing. I think I'm just going to get, let's see here, how long has it been? Yeah, I'm not going to tempt fate. I'm just going to go get a new bucket. I don't want to mess around with this kind of older resin. I am going to wipe off my stick a little bit here, just so that doesn't kind of cure on me, harden up or warm up or anything like that. We'll start with fresh resin on this one, and we'll have, that full working time for sure. No questions asked. I don't know. I've used Mod Podge in the past, and it smells a little bit different. So I don't really think that it's necessarily the same exact thing as Mod Podge. But I mean, all of those things are like kind of the same thing as just white glue, honestly, with maybe slightly different formulations than like Elmer's, because that's Elmer's glue is made for a specific purpose. And it might have just a slight tweak to the formula, but overall they all kind of work similar, I'm sure. If you got Mod Podge, I mean, that'll seal stuff up. You don't need to go buy something different. Let me make that clear for sure. I'm just going to stick this on the ground. I'm going to go get another bucket. Let's see here. So how much resin are we going to need? I don't even think. So we're going to do it a little bit different. So I'm just going to grab one of my quart mixing cups. Ooh, let's try. I bought, so I'm not particularly enthused about those TCP Global cups. Many of them have cracked. So I went back and bought some more Mountain cups. And actually, these ones are slightly different than my older ones. I bought these like years ago, and they're a little bit more like clear compared to these. It's kind of white. But man, these things feel like super flexible. Like I don't think you could break these at all. These were a little bit harder. The TCP Global ones, I've broken a ton of those, so I'm not particularly happy. However, I do like them because they're a little bit bigger. So in some cases, I may want to pull this out just because it holds more resin if I need more room in my cup and I don't want to go up to a huge one. Not a bad way to go, but these things, when you squeeze them, they seem to crack on these lines pretty easily. Well, this one's not doing it, but there it is. See how easy that is to crack? Like that's not good. I don't like it. So I kind of use those TCP Global ones like this might be the first and last time I use this. Not super thrilled about them. And I actually bought those. It wasn't the ones that they were going to send. They never did send them. Anyway, so let's see here. So this time we're going to go with I think I'm going to kind of, I don't know. I'm going to go get a bigger cup. I really do want to use these, but I haven't used any of those new ones yet. But I think I need a bigger cup to, I think it'll be easier to stir it up in. I'm just going to grab one. I think I got these at like Lowe's or something. I don't know. These work pretty good too. Okay, so let's see here. How many ounces is 900 grams? What? Nick's here. What's up, man? Haven't seen you for a while. Oh, 900 grams, 2 ounces. 32 ounces. Okay, so probably don't. I think we can get away with just doing that, the same exact mixture. 8 and then 16. So it's a 2-to-1 again. I think we can do that. I think it'll work just fine. This time I'm going to do it a little bit backwards. Which camera view are we on? I'm actually going to switch to, let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to put on this one so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put 16 ounces of the part A. It's 2 parts of the part A. We're using Amazing Deep Pour again. 2 A's to 1 B, okay? So I'm going to put 16 ounces. Where's that at? 16 ounces of A. And this is going to be more resin than we need for sure. This will just about fill that pipe up completely. Maybe not. Maybe about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way at least. And we're not going to need all that because we're going to shove in a bunch of material. But we do want to have resin, for sure in there. Let me get down and check. That looks pretty good. We're on the line. Back to that one. Elmer thinks I talk too much. That's true, I do. That's okay though. That is quite all right because we don't have to listen to Elmer anymore. All right, so we got our part A and part B. So this is going to be 8 ounces of part B. It's going to take us up to the 24-ounce mark. Let me just make sure that was the B. Yep, okay. B. Let's see, who was asking? Jay Price. So the resin that we're using, this is Alumilite's Deep Pour. The sealer that I used was their Amazing sealer. So it's another Alumilite product. Similar to Mod Podge, I think. I think it's probably almost exactly the same thing. Elmer just needed some glue. I always find it funny, like people complain about stuff and I'm like, I'm not sure why, like it's free content. I don't know. Okay, just leave if you don't like it. I don't know. I don't get the internet some days. Now you always want to work in a well-ventilated area, which frankly, I wouldn't mind turning on a fan or something like that. You can circulate air using like a dust collector even. That'll help kind of circulate air in your shop. I'm learning, I'm purchasing one of the Oneida dust gorillas and doing the whole ductwork system. And I've kind of learned a couple things that I hadn't really thought of before when it comes to like dust collection systems and air movement and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that, I didn't realize. You can just leave your dust collector running as long as your dust collector has a good filter on it. You can, and this is for dust, not so much exactly for like resin fumes, but you can just leave your dust collector running and it'll help to kind of clear out your space. You don't need to rely solely on that, like an air filter or something like that if you got dust in your shop. So it's kind of crazy. Like I learned a bunch of different stuff. School's mostly virtual. Our school, so like I live in Douglas County, Nevada, and they actually, it's full-time again at school. So yeah, I don't know how you teachers are dealing with this. I mean, people like, I've had it pretty easy, and it still has been kind of, you know, the whole lockdowns and all these things have been kind of like depressing, sort of. But like teachers, parents, kids, good Lord, you guys have just been, it's been a long year for you guys. I don't envy any of you. So thank you for keeping those kids educated and dealing with all the crazy different schedules and virtual learning things and all that stuff. Changing after spring break for you? Yeah. UK schools are back too. Oh, cool. I mean, I guess cool. I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to say half the time with any of these things. The only thing I know is we are looking to get vaccinated. And I don't know exactly what the schedule is. I think that we can make an appointment, like being able to make an appointment for the general population in our county, I'm guessing is what this is. I don't know if it's a statewide thing. That's happening April 4th or 5th? 5th. April 5th. We're kind of looking forward to that. I don't know. We're at the point where we just want to get vaccinated and then kind of try to sort of move back to normalcy. You know what we're looking forward to is the minute that we get our second vaccine, we're going to Mexican food out. We're going out to dinner. That's one of the things we missed a lot. It's nice to not have to like cook or clean or do anything and get out amongst, not that we were like social with other people necessarily, you know, at dinner, but just some normalcy. Teachers, you know, everybody, I mean, that's dealing with these things. Oh, yeah. All right, so I think we got it nice and mixed up. So let's see how this works out now. Like I said, I am definitely no expert. This is not a how-to. This is I got some fabric. Let's see what we can do with it kind of thing. Let me scoot this up a little bit closer for you guys to see. So what I'm going to do is we're going to dump some of this in. Let me just make sure that I have everything the way that I want it here. One thing that I think I might do, let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, so I can just pick that up. Okay, I think we're ready. So I'm just going to dump some of this stuff in. And then what I want to do is just put a little bit of fabric in and then I'm not sure who said it, but just kind of like stir it around, get it, you know, saturated. That's what we're trying to do here. That's like the name of the game. You want to get, you know, all sides. This is no different than if we were doing like pasta or I'm trying to think what are some of the other things that where I mix it into the, you know, you like mix it in the mixing cup basically and then pour it all out. That's typically something that I would do with like small glitters. You know, we were doing the shamrock glitters. Let's see here. Coffee beans, pasta, things like that where you want to make sure that you've gotten all surfaces like coated. And in this case, I'm going to even kind of push it down a little bit because I want it to be saturated even with the fabric here. Ooh, look at this. Look at these crazy things. Wow. Get some of that. So that's what I'm going to do. We're just going to kind of mix it around. And again, we got a ton of time with this. That's why I chose this resin. It's according to the jug, I thought somewhere I saw it was like 2 hours somewhere, but on the jug it says 45 minutes to 45 to 90, 60 to 90. So an hour to an hour and a half is what it says on the jug. I'm guessing we even have more time possibly. So that's plenty. And I could, you know, realistically, I could just go this way and not even worry so much about compressing it, and it would still be a pretty neat blank. But what I want to do with the compression is we should get like super kind of crazy layers of it, where there's all these like kind of thinner layers of colors. That's why I'm going for the compression route, because we could just dump this stuff in resin and it'd be fine also. Don't even have to compress it if you don't want to. Put a little bit of blue in there. I've seen some people make knife scale blanks, I want to say, and actually I think Turner's Warehouse is where I saw this. And obviously, whoever makes these, I'm not sure who actually makes them. They're like knife scale blanks, and they might actually have pen blanks too. I don't know. But they compress the heck out of it. They probably use like an even stronger press than just a clamp like I'm using. But they make some, it almost looks like that, what is that metal stuff that's, you know, like knives are made out of it, that type of, like where you're folding metal over. What is that called? I just am blank. What is that called? Really cool. Like knives and stuff are made out of it. Chris is here. What's up? All right, I'm going to add a little bit more resin now. It's starting to kind of... I want to make sure we have lots of resin that I'm kind of stirring this around in. Get it nice and you know, saturated and all over every surface and all that kind of good stuff. A little bit at a time. Get in there. A little bit more at a time than some of the other ones, but that's okay. These are going to be some wild blanks, I think. What do you guys think? Damascus. There you go. Yeah, Damascus. Somebody makes some blanks that are like a micarta. I don't know. I don't even know what material they use for the blanks, but Turner's has it. Did somebody mention it? Yeah, Damascus. But they just look amazing. They're super cool. It's like it folds over and all that stuff. It's not just straight lines. I like the straight line thing. Micarta, obviously. You get kind of that wood grain patterns on the outside and all that, but this Damascus look with micarta is pretty neat too. Add a little bit more resin. And so also by adding some more resin as we go, you know, it's going to kind of soak up into the lower layers as well, I think. You know, hopefully that's the plan anyway. That's my game plan with all this. Richard starting resin casting. Welcome to the addiction. Glad to hear that you're all ready to rock. Got all the equipment already. What types of projects do you plan to make? That's always the interesting thing. There's so many different things you can do with resin that, you know, just saying, oh, I'm going to get into resin casting, that doesn't even, who knows what that means, you know? You could be making river tables, you could be making pen blanks, you could be making bowls and stuff like that, you know, like hybrid type deals. You can be making jewelry, you know, or just doing recreation copies of different items. You know, like you can make like dominoes and dice and all those types of things where you're casting in a mold and just pulling it out. Brick House is here. Welcome. Yeah, so far we haven't had any dyes leaking out into the resin. Realistically, though, I don't think it would make any difference really, because we're going to end up, it's not like there's like clear resin and there's just some scraps in there. We're going to compress all this stuff, and so I don't really think it would make, I don't think you'd see a whole lot of resin, you know, dyed resins or anything like that. And it's already so many different colors that, you know, if the colors kind of bleed together, it's not going to make much difference. So I think we'll be okay. But I haven't really seen anything, and we didn't get any color bleed. I mean, that other bucket, you know, what's left in that other mixing cup is totally clear. So I don't think so. I don't know. I think we're okay with that. We're slowly but surely, we're things rolling here. This is going to be a pretty crazy blank, I think. How much has Alumilite been affected? Well, I know that they're Alumilite white. I mean, I tried ordering it a couple weeks ago, and they're definitely affected. So like urethane resins for sure. I don't know what else though. They sent out like a little bulletin thing saying that some of their, you know, the raw materials to make that stuff were affected by the cold, the crazy cold storms. And I don't know if there's going to be more problems, but so I don't know when it's going to be available or how extensively, you know, Alumilite itself was affected by it. All I know for sure, and luckily I'm not out, but what's affected me is Alumilite white so far. Luckily, I mean, I don't know. And what they said was that urethane resin specifically was affected, which that would also be Alumilite clear slow and just clear and clear slow. That would affect me, but luckily I just got a new, 80-pound kit of that, so I'm good for a little while. But I will let you guys know, and we'll let you know on the podcast, you know, the Resin Cast podcast also. I've been trying to kind of, any updates I hear about that, trying to kind of mention it here and there. Ah, the rotisserie setup, nice. Oh, nice. Yeah, it works really great if you have a Laguna. You can follow, you know, step by step. Nice. Burl glass, nice. Well, I'm glad that it helped out. I know that I really like, you know, being able to slow it down, and those little rotisserie motors work really well for coating stuff. So I'm glad it helped out. That's cool. Richard's thinking about the book. Yeah, it's good for like if you're not, if you're really not sure, like, you know, what exactly is going on with resin. If you're kind of like, yeah, okay, so I got a bunch of stuff, but I don't really know what I'm doing. It covers like what the deal is with the different types of resins, and you know what equipment, which you probably already have all that stuff. What equipment you need, but it's pretty good. Especially it's like $10, right? So some of the stuff you probably already know if you're not a total beginner and have been kind of watching, especially watching my live streams and stuff. There's a lot of things that you probably already know, like equipment wise and all that stuff, but it does go into a little bit more detail about like one thing that I felt was important to put in there was like, what can you do with resin, and give examples, because a lot of people get into it for one thing. And this is how I was too. When I first started out, I was just doing turning blank things like pen blanks. And then I started looking around at different ways people used resins, and it just gives you so many ideas. So that was one thing that I think is valuable in that book. But I also kind of go through what are the different types of resins, how do they kind of work, what to think about when choosing resins. And I'm actually working on a Resin Casting 101 paid video too, that's going to go into like super depth into everything. So that maybe by the end of the year I'll have that ready. But I think the beginner's guide, I don't know. I mean, I think I've gotten literally 2 people, which this is actually kind of nuts when you're dealing with, like, I don't know, selling products online to people. I think I've only gotten 2 emails from people that are like, this book sucks. And I'm like, whoa, you know, or not sucks, but just like, this doesn't tell me how to make hybrid pen blanks. And I'm like, it's the beginner's guide to resin casting. So most people are pretty happy with it. I've found it's gotten really good kind of like reviews and feedback. So, but there's like, if you go to my website and click on like the product link, it shows you like the table of contents. So it'll give you a full, you know, what's in. I don't need white. Let's get some color going. It'll show you what's exactly going on with that book. And it's not for everybody, because if you kind of have a general idea of what's going on, then you probably don't need to buy it. But there are a few little tidbits and nuggets that can kind of help out, even if you know most of it. Man, so far we got it about halfway filled. Add a little bit more resin. Let's see here. I'd like to kind of try and push more of this stuff down, because I don't really want to have to mix up more resin. That seems kind of crazy. Should be plenty of resin in there. Already going to kind of overflow for sure when I compact it. Look at these little frizzy guys. Push some of these little frizzes in there. So again, the reason that I'm just kind of shoving some of this stuff in and then mixing it around basically is you want to try and get the fabric to kind of absorb as much of this resin as possible, as well as just get it kind of coated everywhere. If for some reason when this cures and there's like an area, 2 areas, you know, 2 pieces of fabric that are touching that don't really have any resin in between them, then you're going to get cracks. And so whatever you can do to try to avoid that from happening, you want to do. Mark said it sucks. No, like I said, I mean, only like 2 like really mad people. The only other like negative or issues that people have is they don't realize that it's an ebook. And so they're like, they buy it and they're like, you didn't send it to me. And I'm like, well, you download it. Electronic book. That's the most common problem people have with it, I think. All right, let's see here. That one looks like a fun piece. Those guys. I'll make sure that we're getting as much colorfulness possible. There's a lot of like really kind of thin scraps here. I'm trying to get some slightly bigger pieces here and there. This is definitely a lot cleaner, less messy, doing it this way. One other thing that you could do with this kind of pipe setup is you could just cut this into like coasters even if you wanted to. You still have to do a little bit more, you know, like cleaning up, sanding and polishing and stuff than if you just dumped it into a normal coaster mold type thing. But it's kind of an interesting way to go. You could kind of like that. Ooh, look at this stuff. Whoa. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about. Got a couple of those pieces. Look at this. Whoa. I was trying to avoid having to mix any more resin up, but I think we're going to have to mix more resin up. It's just kind of, which we're going to end up wasting it in the end most likely, but let me measure this real quick. I want to measure this and see what the length is of this blank, what it will be. Because for certain things you don't need too much, so we're looking at like 6 inches. So realistically, I only need to get this thing to be about 5, but this is going to be compacted, so kind of tough. We're going to have to do a lot more of this work. So it's a slow-going process, guys. Just keep that in mind. Micarta is not something that you get done really quick. Any live events going to be open this year? I have no clue. I mean, it's, you know, the problem with it is it's really hit or miss with. There's people that are kind of trying to plan stuff. I think I heard Maker Central is trying to be done in like August, but everything's so up in the air because if there's like some crazy outbreak, then they'll shut everything down again. So I'm probably not doing any live events this year. It's probably not going to work out where I can actually make it. But there probably will be some. As long as things chill out. As long as we can get on top of this virus and it's not outbreaking all over the place, then I think we should be able to get a couple in. I don't know. I'm going to try and get it. Oh, there's really not much in there. I don't want to wait for that. I'm going to mix up a little bit more. So let's see here. We got 250, 3, 50, and 450. That ought to work. 150. So I'll tell you what, I like the 1-to-1 ratio. It's a lot easier. A lot better. They're much easier to figure out the. So we're going to do 150 of part B and then plus we'll go up to 450 total. 300 and 150. Again, the deep pour is 2-to-1, 2 parts A to 1 part B. We'll do some B. That's looking good. And A. Ought to be good. Yeah, actually, I just spoke to Michael Harden, and he said that they're trying to get that going. He's in charge of that one. And I'd imagine Jason Rose is probably still trying to do the Mid-Ohio Valley one. But again, I mean, it just kind of depends. Yeah, yarn would be cool. I actually did some yarn in the past. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to write another book, most likely. I think that I'd rather move into video because you can show so much more. You know, trying to explain with pictures and writing how to do, I don't know, more complicated tasks, I don't really think I would do. It took me like a whole year to write that book. That's another reason why I think it worked out good, because I was very, I don't know, I tried to make it as good as possible, basically, for just a little cheap ebook. And I don't know that I have it in me to write another in-depth book like that. I can do videos, though. So I was thinking about maybe doing some different topics on video for things. But the other thing is, I mean, most of the kind of intermediate things, like I have videos on that are for free on my YouTube channel. So, you know, just search my channel and you can usually find a lot of that stuff. Hodgepodge is here. What's up? We're just mixing resins and shoving in fabrics and having a grand old time here. Okay, so let's continue on. We got another one of these long strands. Look at that. Where's my stir stick? I actually got requested to do like a resin casting 101 like video. Some people do like reading, learning by reading, but a lot of people would rather watch a video. And so a lot of people were like, you know, your ebook's great, but it'd be nice if you did a video. So I was like, yeah, totally makes sense. I maybe should. I thought I'd work on that a little bit this year, see if I can get something good put together. And it'll be a little bit slightly different, pretty similar to the ebook, but because I can show more, you know, things, it does. I like video. That's, you know, obviously, it's nice to be able to kind of show stuff rather than just talk about it. These are some fun little, I don't know what you call these kind of patterns, but they're pretty fun. What? No. Stop. Hey Siri, stop. My HomePod has taken a life of its own, or it just started doing something. I do like the HomePod. So I just got the like HomePod regular, you know, big one, and then they like discontinued it right afterwards, and I kind of like it. I don't know. I don't think that Siri is as useful as some of the other ones, but I didn't buy it for that. I bought it for the music, and so I like it, but a cat hair resin blank. No, I made a human hair resin blank, and I think I'm about done with hair. That was enough for me. Do you know, if you know Scott Grove, he sent me hair. We made some pen blanks. It was, I don't know. It was fun. I was like, okay, I don't need to do that again. All right, so we're getting going here. One thing to keep in mind is, you know, I'm going to compress this, so it needs to be a little higher than I need it. You know, so looking at it right now, the material kind of goes to about right here. It's about 3/4 full. We need to go a little bit further. I don't necessarily care if I get this thing totally filled. you know, there's no way that I'm going to make the blank, you know, the full 6 inches tall anyway, because we're going to compact it. But, you know, 5 inches I think we could probably easily get. Trying to kind of squish this all together as good as I can here. But we are getting kind of close to the top. Look at that kind of funky pattern. Fun one. So many crazy patterns in these things. If you think about it, you know, there's a lot of different things. Like, she made lots of stuff with these. So again, you could just kind of compact this the way that I'm doing it and just leave it, you know, kind of walk away once you've kind of compacted everything. But I think it's going to be a little bit cooler to actually, we're going to put a wood block for anybody that didn't see. And this thing's ready to go now. We've got it sealed and it's clear. We're going to actually, you know, compress everything, all the contents in here. So that'll just give you like kind of tighter, you know, tighter patterning with the colors and all this stuff. The best way to go is to use like a full-on screw clamp, so you can apply some serious pressure. You'll get things nice and tight. That's the, you know, if you're going for like a super tight pack, that is the best way to go. Use a screw type thing that you can actually get leverage on, and it will apply serious pressure. But also, the more pressure that you push, the more the contents are going to be, you know, squished together. So the more that you would actually have to start with in this situation. So just a couple things to kind of think about. Ooh, polka dots. Got some polka dots, guys. Yeah, a potato masher would be a good one. I'm not that worried about it though, because I got my big block of wood. That will compress everything. But a potato masher would be a pretty good way to do this kind of stuff. Something with a grate that actually has, you know, some girth to it, some heft, stiffness. We're getting about to the end here. I don't think that, you know, like I said, I don't want to fill it all the way, most of the way, but I have room for our glue block. It'll be kind of nice to have a built-in glue block on this blank. You don't even have to make one or glue it together or do anything. And the reason I'm just kind of poking it and prodding this stuff is I'm just trying to make the resin, I don't know. You could maybe just kind of dunk this in and just kind of press it down and then just push. I may be wasting time just kind of pressing this around. The same objective may be, you know, achieved by just compressing it with that block. I don't know. But it makes me feel better if we just kind of move this stuff around. Just make sure that trying to get it to absorb resin and get all the surfaces kind of coated. Ooh, look at this pattern. Ooh, like a Hawaiian shirt right there. Get a little of that on the top. Do we have any more of that? Like musical notes almost. All right, I think that I'm going to probably call it about good at this point. We have our fabric. I mean, it's a little bit more than 3/4 full. So it's going to compress a little bit further down, but I think it'll be pretty good. I don't know. Maybe a little bit more. Let's do a little bit more here. Oh, these are a bunch of, see, this would have been probably not so good because we have a bunch of layers, bunch of thin pieces here that was asking for not having resin between the layers. Always better to kind of have it separated. You can't totally rely on the fact that the material is going to totally just absorb it on its own. You know, just absorb all the resin in every spot. And if there are some spots that don't have resin on them between two pieces of fabric, then you're going to get cracking. That's why we're trying to do everything we can to kind of make it absorb stuff, and you know, the compression helps with that a little bit. That's why I'm kind of just poking at this. It just, in my mind, it seems like a good idea. Try and promote that. What else we got in here? Anything else that's interesting? Ooh, what are these guys? What that is? That's kind of crazy. Resin soup for dinner. Yeah, I know. We're getting there. We're getting there, guys. Do another one of these crazy ones. All right, so now that's getting really close to the top. I think feeling a little bit better about it right there. I think I'm going to compress it from here. I'm going to kind of poke around at this and just see where we're at. Yeah. So now, you know, we're up to here. I mean, it's almost like 7/8 full, I would say. I think I'm going to call that good. We got a little bit more resin, but we're going to waste a little bit more. Oh, we need to do the pen blank one. Okay, so I also had a pen blank. Where'd that go? Good thing I thought of that. So I thought we could try a tube. So I want to do this differently, though. We're going to actually kind of, this works perfect. So I got a little bit left in this cup. I had almost forgotten about that. So I'm going to do it the other way here for this cup. I'm going to get this stuff soaking, and the way I'm going to do that, we're going to actually take this out and then shove it down in the pipe. It's going to be a little bit more on the messy side, but I want to get things kind of soaking first on this. The question is, I don't know if a PVC pipe is really a great way to go for this type of thing. Maybe a little bit more too difficult to kind of compact doing it this way. I don't know. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to just try it out, see what happens. All right, so I'm gonna have to kind of squeeze that. So we're gonna do this a little bit later with the pen blank. And I also need to spray that tube with some mold release. So first things first, let's get this thing clamped up and going. I'm gonna put some of this stuff away. Man, we still have a ton of this stuff. We didn't even really use that much. A lot of white stuff. I don't like that. I think I'm going to toss the white stuff. Got a lot of it. I'm going to leave some out for pen blank. I want to kind of clear the space so I can get room to get our little bucket ready. Okay, I think that's plenty for the pen blank. All right, so I just have this little silicone pan. Can you guys see that? Yep. Well, it's kind of covered by that one thing. Our other view. I'm going to try to scoot this down a little bit. Sticky. Okay. So this time I have a jet parallel clamp. And I need this to stay up, if it will. It won't. Why won't this thing stay up? That is ridiculous. Not tall enough. Okay. I'm going to put a little clamp on this thing. I want to make sure that this thing is open. There we go. Did you guys see that? Much easier. Thing was, I don't want to lift this with one hand. That's just not the smart way to go. I want to get my hand underneath the mold. If you pick it up by the pipe, there's no guarantee that that hot glue is going to, hold it. So I want to get my hand under this thing and pick it up from underneath. Make sure that we're good to go. Okay, look at that. Not too bad. And we got our little glue block type thing, and it's all sealed up. We're good to go. It's all clear. Using that amazing sealer. So, again, we're going to make a gigantic mess. Actually, I may need something in between that wood block. So I'm going to grab a piece of, what do I got? Got a couple scraps of HDPE over here, I think. Somewhere. Try and go for something kind of non-stick. Let's see how this goes. We might have to kind of back it out. And first thing I need to do with this is back off the screw. Okay. Yeah, we're definitely going to need more. Oh, my battery is dying, guys. Jeez. Didn't think about it, but this was bound to take a little bit longer than my typical streams. All right, so we got power. We didn't lose the camera. That needs to be smaller than the pipe. I didn't really think this through totally well. Not all the way through. Let's see. I don't have anything non-stick, so we're just going to go with some plywood pieces. I can just cut them off later. Look at this go. I have a feeling I'm going to have some trouble getting this thing demolded. This is a mess. Ooh, that's looking pretty cool though, guys. I don't know. I can't really get a camera in to see it. I'm going to dump some of this excess resin off. Looks like it's going in pretty even. Looking pretty good so far. So I'm just going to keep screwing this thing down, compacting it. So I think this should work. The question is, are we going to be able to get this thing out of the mold? I don't know. We can always turn off the PVC pipe. It's looking neat. I don't know. Can you guys, I'm gonna see if you can kind of see from the side. See, look at that. Isn't that looking kind of neat? I know you guys are kind of far away, but let's see if I can get this camera in a little bit closer. Let me get some light. Hold on. Looks pretty neat, huh? It's gonna be one crazy blank. Yeah, the clamp is kind of getting wrecked here. It's true. Oh well. I think I can probably wipe off quite a bit of it off the clamp. I don't think that screwing it down any further is going to really do anything at this point, so it looks like laundry. I know, the laundry. Now, it'll still work, the clamp. All of the serious parts are up here. I can wipe off the rest of it. I've had resin stick to the plastic stuff parts on this, and it's been fine. It just pops off. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You can always like wrap pipe, your clamps, and or put on like you can spray it with mold release. That would be one way to go. You can put wax on them. You could tape them off if you want. But I mean, I think it'll be fine. This one may be a little bit more difficult to fix than some of the other ones, but and typically the resin will pop off the metal as well. But yeah, could be a ruined clamp. You just never know. I'm going to put this right here, dump this out. Told you guys, it's a mess. Doing this kind of stuff is messy. And I am definitely not the best at doing this type of stuff, so probably other ways to do it. Actually, I think at this point, I can just leave this there. This will dry up. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. All right, so let's try to do this pen blank. I can kind of do it over this in here. First, I need to spray this really well. So we're going to try and kind of push some of this stuff down into a pen blank. There's the camera, whatever. You guys know what's going on. I'm going to try the universal mold release again. Spraying the heck out of this pipe on both ends. Okay. We got our mold release on the pipe. Let's try and shove some of this stuff down in here. Now, the way that I want to do this, let's try and get this out of the way a little bit from the camera. Move this up. So what I want to do is, how do I want to do this? I'm just going to kind of hold this. We're just going to kind of pull this stuff out, squeeze it, and then we're just going to kind of shove it down into the pipe, see how it goes. I'm just kind of wringing out the material. We did this on the pen blank one too. The brick of pen blanks, I should say. Trouble is, a 3/4 inch PVC pipe is a little bit more difficult to kind of get stuff into, but it looks like it's going pretty good. I was just kind of curious about this. See how it would work. That's kind of cool. So far, it's kind of working. I don't know. Got it somewhat filled in there. Okay, here we got a little bit more. Yeah, okay. I think that'll work. That's not bad. It's again pretty messy, but I think it's gonna work. So what I have here for this is just another little pen blank cutoff that I've had sitting around forever. Nice. Do a little bit more of this fabric. And we'll shove it down in there. And then again, I'm just going to use another clamp, I think. Kind of clamp that together. Doug's here. What's up, man? One thing that you're not gonna get as much of, especially with like longer pieces, that I'm kind of noticing, is you're gonna have probably larger chunks in a pen blank like this. So I'm gonna kind of try to mix these two colors in. Might be better to kind of grab a bunch of different kind of colors at once and try and shove them all in, rather than just layer one type of fabric at a time. I don't know how it would look in the end, but just kind of the thought occurred to me that it might be better to kind of mix them up a little bit. All right. That ought to do it right there. I think we got enough material. Compact it. I need to go get a clamp. Let me get these gloves off real quick. I'll go get a clamp. Let's see. What kind of clamp am I going to use for this one? Had pretty good luck with the plastic ones. The one issue is I'm going to have to figure out a way to kind of keep this from like tipping over. You know what I mean? Somehow. I think what I'm going to do is try and kind of wipe this tube off as much as possible after I compact it, and then just probably put it in like a screw clamp type thing. I don't know. Yeah, hopefully, you know, that's the other thing that with the compression is, since I'm not putting these in pressure, compressing it hopefully will get as much of the air out as possible, but there's almost guaranteed to have some like air bubbles, kind of pockets here and there in these. Certain things, like, you know, if I really put a lot of thought into it, I would imagine that there's a way that I could, you know, figure out a contraption that has like a screw top for like pen blank bricks that would fit into a pressure pot pretty well. You know, if you really thought about it, I think it could easily be pressurized as well as compressed. Hopefully they'll turn out okay. I don't know. That's why we experiment. And a lot of times on like a first experiment, I'd rather do like the worst case scenario kind of thing. Just see what happens, see if it works. I get it centered good as I can. Oh, the silicone plug is popped out of the bottom. I highly recommend, and I want to go put some on right now, eye protection if you're going to do this kind of stuff. Okay, so I don't think silicone plugs work too well with this, because it just kind of pushed it out somehow. Oh, nothing wrong with it, but you really kind of need to have a hard base on the bottom. So I think I might be able to get away with just using the clamp pad. Oh shoot. But before I do any of that, I want to get eye protection on. I'm worried about that thing squirting right in my eye. Okay, we're back. So I don't know how this is going to work. It's probably just going to leak out, I guess, huh? I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes. Yeah. I'd have to hot glue it, basically. Just sliding around. All right, so that's not going to work. You really need to go for the hot glue and totally seal that bottom. Those little silicone plugs just aren't going to do the job. So instead, well, I guess actually what you can do, I got an idea that will work. I got another pen blank, but it's still not going to be really sealed. This is the only issue. But this might work. Let's see here. Where's my clamp? I think you really need to have it sealed in the bottom. What I was thinking was that I could maybe do like a pen blank on each side, but it's still not really going to be sealed, right? So like the excess resin is still just going to kind of leak out. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to try and push this little silicone plug back in because it was working up to a point, and we're just going to go for a little bit less pressure than I would have gone for otherwise. I don't know how well this is going to work exactly, but I think it's better than anything else I got up my sleeve. Okay, got that. And then we're just going to compress this a bit is what's going to happen now. Let me go get my clamp. Okay. I'm just going to be very careful with this. We're not going to give it extreme pressure. It's slipping. I don't know. I think that's about all we got, guys. I don't know. I'm just going to kind of lean this on the ground over here. I have a feeling this may end up being an epoxy splotch on the ground. That one didn't work out so hot. But I thought I'd try it and see how it went. Anyway, all right, sorry about that. It was a little bit kind of boring at the end there. I apologize for that, but hopefully you guys enjoyed kind of seeing some ideas. That's the whole point of these things. It's not so much like I'm like, oh, this is how you need to make, you know, what is this, fabric blanks. It's more just I would have done this no matter what, you know, just trying it out, seeing what happens, and, you know, seeing what doesn't work, what may be not the best way to do things, certain things that might be the good way to do it, you know. But I'm excited to see how these blanks turn out. I wish I could have compacted more stuff into that pipe, but, you know, it's already 5:40. I've been doing this for almost 3 hours at this point. So you can see this is why I don't really do micarta, because it takes forever, you know. So anyway, so let me stop and see if there is anything in the comments here. Doug's here still. So I appreciate all you guys that stayed this whole time. Let's see here. I'm scrolling down. Oh yeah, you did the with wrapping it around the tube. That's pretty cool. I like that idea. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of a messy night tonight, and you guys know that I don't really like messes. Not my favorite thing in the world. But sometimes, as long as I'm like, yep, it's gonna be messy, let's just get on with it. Let's see here. So we did pen blanks in a brick. For anybody that showed up for like late, we did a 6 pen blank brick of it. And I used a piece of HDPE. I don't have cameras over where it's at and I can't bring it over, but we used another piece of HDPE to clamp it. Those should turn out fabulous, actually. I've done that before, and I think that those are gonna be pretty awesome. The pipe is gonna be, I think, good. I'm very happy with how that all turned out. Extremely messy. Am I gonna make a lot of these? No, type thing. But I think the pipe will work pretty well. I'm actually thinking what I might do with that is make a bowl, possibly, because I just don't know. I don't think I can get a sphere out of it now. It's a little bit, I really only have about half of that pipe, so it's about 3 inches tall and 4 inches wide. So I think that might make a pretty cool bowl. And then obviously the pen blank, I don't think that's going to be very good because without compacting it, like really compressing all that stuff like hard, I think it's going to be riddled with air bubbles, but we'll have to just kind of see. So anyway, I hope you, like I said, enjoyed the seeing the mess being made, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. So I didn't see any questions or anything like that. So anyway, I actually have to get going now because it's almost dinner time, and Gretchen's going to be mad if I'm late. So I hope you guys have a great evening. Make sure to check out the micarta ice cream scoop. And I didn't make the blank on that. It was just turning the ice cream scoop out of the rainbow micarta handle. And there's a handle up for grabs. So, watch the video till the end to see how to get entered into the giveaway to win that blank from Philip Danner. So anyway, I think that's about it. So I am going to wrap things up. I hope, again, you have a great evening tonight, and I will see you guys all on the next live stream next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for joining.